now. But of course, it comes on the heels of these reports about, with the appetite for trading itself worldwide. We got all these cross currents. Who had had this? And Charlie, why are we covering this Gasparino? Just explaining.
That's not quite what I said.
Just explaining this, by the way, to our finance guys. That was a real treat for me. But Charlie is. Fine. We'll get into that in a second. Money guy Anthony Scaramucci just off his private jet from London, where he was joining us yesterday. Anthony, always jet, good.
My arms are tired.
Yeah, all right, guys. Back to business here. But I said, and we were kidding about it yesterday, Charlie, that. This was a black eye in the NYSE, and I think it reminded people there are alternatives. And I know, Gaspo, your view has been that those alternatives were there for traders, but an iconic symbol looked all the more dinosauric.
I think your analysis yesterday was right on the money. There are 12 other places to trade, which people did. In those 12 places, I think 2 of them are inside the New York Stock Exchange, other than the floor traders, which are an anachronism. But what this did do, and I think this is the problem that the New York Stock Exchange had, is that, we now have taken back the curtain, and we see there's not much there. That, and this is a business problem for the New York Stock Exchange in the sense that it sells itself as this great brand, which it is, recognizable brand. But what does it give the person, the company that lists on the exchange? Not much. And this iconic symbol is really not that much different than a computer over on Times Square called NASDAQ. It's the bottom line.
Oh, well, I mean, you said business has gone back to business as usual, but it was business as usual yesterday. That's the irony of the whole thing. So I think that you do get
what he had said for 2
and you owe me dinner.
Yeah,
by the way.
I owe you dinner, and I've already booked it.
Right.
I'm even going to buy you the ice cream sundae this time. But on this topic, Neil, the thing that I'm super worried about is maybe it was a software glitch, but there were a lot of coincidences yesterday. And if you're in our business, and I think the most vulnerable area of our business is the hedge fund industry itself. Even the Department of Justice that came to SALT, I think you saw John was there, talking about how the gateway into the financial services community is through these very lax hedge fund managers that are not super focused on cyber and cybersecurity. And so I hope
those stocks are doing just great today.
I hope this is a wake-up call for people related to that.
What I find odd, guys, is that I know the coincidences happen, but there were so many yesterday, and to say that this was a software upgrade, and that happens, I do wonder why midweek you tried such a big software upgrade. Even our IT guys at Fox try that kind of stuff on the weekends. But be that as it may, with the airline stuff, with train and related stuff, the Chinese market and its computer issues with all these companies that stop trading and all. If I'm a bad guy, guess while I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, boy, it doesn't take much to disrupt these guys.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it doesn't get it's easy to screw them up. I mean, it's easy. They're vulnerable, and I think that was one of the stories. Listen, yesterday would have been a horrendous day if the New York Stock Exchange came back and said it was cyber terrorism that took them out, other than a glitch, because then it takes.
Well, they quickly ruled that out.
Yeah.
And what did you think of that, Anthony? I know you were joining us from London on the phone, but that was quickly ruled out.
Listen, I'm going to accept them at their word that they didn't have cyber terrorism there, but that doesn't mean that the threat doesn't exist, Neil. And as I said to you guys, I went to Israel 2 weeks ago, Team 8200, which is basically the Israeli NSA. What they're saying is that the only way to stop this now is to go on the attack and attack the hacker. If we're going to wait for the hacker to infiltrate our systems, get in our system, and then we're going to try to figure out a way to get them out of our system, not going to work anymore. So the next generation of hacker defense is to identify all the bad guys out there and eliminate the bad guys before they show up at your door. And I think this is going to be the next wave of this.
And I think Rudy Giuliani made a good point yesterday, a great point about the fact that the leadership of the New York Stock Exchange, they were so inept in dealing with this, and they didn't want to say anything because I think if they said anything, they would have diminished themselves. I think that's what they were worried about. If they went out there and say it's business as usual, they would have been like, why do we need the New York Stock Exchange? But as a corporate citizen, and I don't listen. I believe corporations should first serve their shareholders, but they have a responsible role. They should have came out and said what was going on and that the average investor, average people were calling me up saying people I know, I can't trade my stocks. What the hell's going on? People were doing that.
Yeah, but they could though. That's the irony. They could find ways to trade. But I have a question for you. If you're taking a company public, Where would you put it? New York Stock Exchange?
I think this
NASDAQ?
shows that they're just as vulnerable as the NASDAQ to a screw-up. I don't think it matters.
So
how about bats?
I would make.
How about bats?
Or
and by the way,
new
this could
IEX,
happen to anybody.
Brad
This could happen to
Katsuyama, the Flash boy.
Right.
He's got a new
Right.
exchange coming on.
Why do you need a
Fair
listing?
Exchange.
Why do you need a listing?
I think there is still status, international status to that brand.
Real quickly, guys, the one seminal event on the day is that the other exchanges did not close in sympathy or in lockdown. And Dick Grasso had been urging that. That didn't happen. To my mind, that was the first time something like that on this
So it's
kind
the
of
Wild
event.
West.
Well, no, the SEC said don't do it.
It did say that? Okay.
Well, I'm sure that in order for any regulated exchange to close following this, they would have to get approval from the SEC. And the SEC...
I didn't know. I just found that telling because in the past, when one's down, wool's down, so we don't have an... that was interesting.
I think the regulators want this market the way it is.
Well, you hang in there because we have another 2 hours for you to alienate some more sponsors. So please, stay.
I didn't alienate anybody.
This is fine.
Was it sponsors?
At least you're not out in Sun Valley right now, so that's good for us here.
You mean I would have gotten arrested?
We will intermittently be taking you to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.